Okay, I thought I'd show you how I do my corner reinforcements. It's worked pretty good for me. Is I come in just about 1/8 of an inch here, maybe a 1/4 inch. I'll lift and turn. Pull my pin out maybe. And then I'll run one stitch across this way. Not all the way because you're going to fold that seam here in a minute, so no sense in quadruple stitching that basically. Then I'll run a back stitch all the way back up to my starting point. And with the needle in, I'll lift and turn and finish off this corner stitch. So now the tarp's all sewn up, all the reinforcements are sewn in. We're going to get on to the last part of the tarp itself, and that's tie outs. You're going to need some nylon webbing, some grosgrain ribbon, tape measure, and D-rings. I got these on Amazon for I think $7 for a pack of 50 or something. They came in 3/4 inch, 1 inch, and 1.5 inch. I'm going to be using the 1 inch ones. And then the nylon webbing, I found these straps at Walmart, 6 foot long, for $1.25 on clearance. They have them all the time. I think they're $2 normally. That'll give you enough for all of your tie outs, and then some for other projects, and they come with a pretty decent buckle on them as well, so you can always keep that section to tie up your or roll up your tarp and secure it if you don't make a bag or whatever. My ridgeline ones are going to be, I think I was going to do roughly 16 inch, just so I can go back. I may drop that down to like a foot and have 6 inches sticking out, or 6 inches total, and then that way I can do my securing stitches and have a good D-ring tie out point. I'll get to cutting these and be back. So now I have my 6 total tie outs for the corners and the 2 ridge lines cut. I've got 2 at 12 inch and 4 at 6 inch. So when I double them over, these will be 6 inch, these will be 3 inch basically. And we just secure those with a bar tack, and I'll do 2 or 3. Double them over, and my stitch line for my reinforcement, I just kind of go off of that as my end point, and then I make sure they're lined up. And with these, I'll do 2 to 3 bar tacks across the whole thing from the very edge of the tarp all the way up to the end. With a thicker material like this nylon webbing, you kind of have to help it along because it's so slick on the bottom because of the nylon. It wants to bunch up. But I'll do a full width bar tack there, and then move over to the corner as much as I can where I can get the full width of the material again. So again, just use your thumb and fingers to kind of help it along and through until we get up into the meat of the material there. Again, like I said, I'll do a back stitch across pretty much the entire thing just to get everything held in. And there you have the first corner. Gives you a pretty good loop. Super strong on the outside. You're not going to be able to pull that apart. This is going to be like an EDC everyday carry for me. It's going to be in my bag at work, so I want it to just be strong and take a beating. So I'm just going to work around the tarp, doing all the tie outs onto the ridgeline one. This is how it's going to sit. First thing I'll do is take and stitch about a 1/2 inch in here just to hold this in place, and then I'll put it onto the tarp and sew probably 3 different sets of bar tacks along this to secure it to the tarp. And again, with this process, you can space out if you want more play in your loop or less. You can tighten it up or make it farther back. With the nylon webbing, it is fairly stretchable, so it will want to kind of needle stay in place and the nylon move on you, so definitely have to help it through until you get to the point as to where it'll walk through with the feed dogs by itself. One other thing I did forget to mention is you do want to take a lighter and melt your ends of your nylon to keep it from unraveling, and you'll do the same with the grow grain when you do those, however many tie out points you want to put on the sides. So now we'll get everything fed into the machine. Again, I use my first stitching as kind of a guide. I'll put that right at the edge of the tarp, and then my first bar tack to the tarp will be right along with the seam here. When you're doing the bigger seams, you can always reach back with your one hand and kind of help just gently pull the tarp along so it doesn't slide too much on you. And again, because this is the ridge line, and this will have the most stress on it, I will do probably 2 or 3 back stitches, and then again 3, maybe 4 full bar tacks across just to hold everything into place. So the last 2 steps for the tarp to complete it off I'll be taking some 7/8 grosgrain ribbon, and I've marked out 3 on each side of the tarp for supplemental tie outs. I just take a piece of chalk and mark them. Again, just melt your ends of your grosgrain so it does not fray on you. And once you get all these sewn on, my last thing is I've got some 16-inch shock cord for the 4 corner tie outs. I've cut them to a foot long. I'll tie them into a loop, and that just helps if your tarp gets wet or whatever starts to stretch. These will tighten up and keep most of the tension on your tarp. When I sew these on to the rolled hem there, I do like to go 2 or 3 stitches past on each side just to make sure that that grosgrain doesn't unravel on the very edge there. And you just continue working around your tarp with your ribbons. Sometimes I'll double them over when I melt them, and it just kind of holds them together so they don't slide side to side while you're trying to sew them. Line it up on the mark. Alright, just finished up the last side reinforcement tie out point. Just show you on one corner here with your elastic. Easiest one I've found, and it's been fairly durable for me, is you basically just tie an overhand knot on one side and tie it over the other loop. I don't tighten them very tight until I get the second one tied, and then it'll be the same thing, just an overhand knot on your other side of the shock cord. And then when you get to that point, you can just pull them tight and clip the ends if you want. I usually clip them down with about a 1/4 inch left and then melt them so they don't fray. And that's about it. I'll finish up the other corners and this tarp will be done. I'll make up a bag later and maybe strike this out in the field so you guys can see what it looks like. Okay, so here we are just in the backyard. I got the bag sewn up. Just grabbed some stakes from another tent for now, just to set this up and kind of show you guys what the finished product looks like. So here's the bag I made, just a standard little stuff sack. I followed Backcountry Banter has a real good tutorial on how to make a stuff sack on his site, so I'd recommend checking that out. I do a couple added things. I put a little piece of grosgrain there so I can make it almost into a little shoulder strap, and then on the inside I add an actual pocket to hold stakes or cordage. Like I said, since this is more of a EDC, if I need a tarp real quick and I don't want to have to cut stakes or anything, I can just throw the minimum of 6 and some cordage in there to strike it. And what you've all been waiting for, the finished product, there it is. You can see that even in the wind this morning, it's pitched fairly tight. I didn't go through and adjust everything, but you can see the corners. That shock cord stretches pretty well. No issues with tearing. If you really needed to, high wind conditions or rain, you could stake down all 6 on both sides, 3 on each side, and it would probably not budge one bit. You can use trekking poles. I just grabbed a couple dead aspens real quick. You can see that side I didn't fully tighten, and it's still fairly tight pitch on everything. So there's the finished product. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and thanks for watching.